Hello, my name is Chris Howard. As I get older, I realize that the stories of our elders need to be preserved. So I've decided to try my hand in the world of podcasting by recording some conversations with Frank Gutkowski. Frank's sons are Tony and Luke. I think of them as brothers. Frank, also known as Butch, also known as Old Man, has been a huge influence on me for many years. And here is how I plan to repay the favor. Please join me while I have a cigar with Butch.
All right.
So we're going to do an interview with Butch once a week. For those of you who don't know, it'll be Frank Gutkowski, a.k.a. Butch, a.k.a. Old Man. Some might even know him as the Chicken Man. We're going to talk about everything except for politics. We're going to talk about his adventures in life, probably get some fishing stuff in there, always hunting stuff. So, Butch, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Butch.
And
Old man to most of these 40-year-olds. Frank Gutkowski to work. And in high school, I was called Putter.
we might start using putter more often.
Well, the reason I was called Putter is because in the 100-yard dash, I stepped in dog shit. And I didn't have any traction. And the gym teacher wouldn't let me do it again. So I was the slowest person running in the whole high school. My first memory in life is being under my grandmother's arm, and she's walking through snow and mud, and she's got the old 50s style zipper rubber boots over her shoes.
Over boots.
Yeah, and it's got the fur on top, And then going out.
Of course, the snow got way steep then.
Yeah, but it didn't even cover her boots. You got to realize I'm in her arms looking straight down. I can see everything on the ground. And she carries me out to the cow barn. And my mom's out there milking the cow, hand milking. And then she carries me to the chicken coop, sets me down on the floor, goes in the barrel, gets the chicken food out. I played with a cat. I don't remember its name. And she told me not to do that because I was going to get dirty.
Now, did they ship milk?
What?
Did you ship canned milk, or that was just milk for?
No, that was for the house.
For the house.
We only had one cow.
And the chickens just for the house, or did you sell eggs?
They were egg sales. I remember going with my mom in the pickup truck, and there were other folks in the neighborhood with chickens, and they'd pay my mom, I believe it was a penny a dozen, to deliver eggs.
Right to a store?
No.
No?
To
whoever?
To local people,
Okay.
because we had a whole lot. There wasn't a whole lot. There was also a guy that would come and buy eggs, dozens.
But you did ship produce, right?
Yeah, my dad would take the garden to the Clinton and Bailey market.
And that was when you were still living on the farm, before you went to...
Yeah, he'd take like a whole pickup truck load full of wooden baskets, sometimes two-tiered. My dad built a thing for the back of the pickup truck so that he could put a sheet of plywood over the bottom baskets, and the sheet of plywood would support the upper baskets so he could do more than a pickup load.
So we're talking, these first memories got to be in the mid-'60s, early 60s?
Early 60s.
Well,
I was 5 in 1960.
So I had to been right in that neighborhood then.
Yeah. But we did that up until I was 10 or 12.
And then your grandpa always had draft horses, right?
He had draft horses. He only had one left. No, he had 2 left that I can remember. I don't remember how old I was, but the one died. He only had 2 for a short period of time. And he would horseplow. And
he always bought your mom a new car to drive him around in, wasn't that the trade-off?
She had a 1955 Ford pickup truck, and my uncle took care of it.
Okay.
So my mom, hell, I remember my parents still having it growing up in the 60s.
Now, were your brothers born when you were still on the farm?
My one brother was Ken.
And then you guys moved to the house. Your dad's mother had a property in Blaisdell. Correct?
Yeah, an apartment place in Blaisdell, which my mom, we moved there after my grandmother died. My Italian grandmother died, and my mom had some money from insurance, but my grandmother hadn't paid her taxes in like 3 years, and they were going to foreclose on the apartment house. And then my parents hired this contractor to get the apartments in shape, and all he did is steal from them.
And then so that would have been, what, mid-late 60s when you moved in there?
No, that was, yeah, it would have been 72.
So you were going into high school then?
Well, I quit.
Okay, you'd already quit at that point?
Yeah, well, I had 27 credits. Back then, you only needed 23 for a Regents diploma, and I was working with the racehorses, and my dad was making $200 a week, and I could make 170.
Your dad's working at the steel plant, right?
Yeah. So if I wasn't racing, I'd show up to school. If I was racing, I was taking one class, senior English. And I was there for 3 quarters until they kicked me out. My lowest score back then, I don't know if they still do, back then they used to have quarterly tests.
Yep.
My lowest score on a quarterly test was an 88. But to me at that time, it was more about making a living. You know, I had a scholarship.
So your uncles both in World War II?
All 3 of them.
All 3.
I only talk about 2 of them, but my one uncle Russ was stationed in Alaska.
Oh yeah.
And after the war, he went back there like 3 times. I remember coming over to his house, looking at his new moose, his new caribou.
Nice. So they lived on the farm with you, or they lived on the farm?
No, they lived. My Uncle John lived next door. He bought the house next door. My other uncles, one lived down near the lake in Lakeview, and the other one lived in Rochester.
When did your grandparents pass away?
Give me a minute. I gotta think about this. Like 70, between 70 and 73.
So it was right about that time that your uncle bought the farm from him.
Well, my parents, because they were already taking care of my Polish grandmother, couldn't afford to bid against my uncle.
Right.
You know, and somehow, some way, I'm going to go back on the property and see if the hickory nut tree is still there.
Right.
It's where I put my parents' ashes, and it's where I was conceived, according to my mom.
According to the story.
It was too hot that day to lay out in the sun. They had to get in the shade of the hickory nut tree.
It was definitely a nut tree, huh?
Oh, if it's still there, I'll bet it's 3.5 to 4 foot in diameter.
So you went horse racing. Yeah. You ended up working at the steel plant, correct?
Yeah, no, actually for 9 years I was in the steel plant. I went from the racehorses to Bethlehem Steel. I worked in the coke ovens. They wouldn't let you work there today.
Well, luckily you got to tear them apart, didn't you, later on in life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to demo it. But I went there for a year, and then they had a Reagan thing. Got to cut back. We're going to give Rich more money, but everybody's got to stop. You got to cut back. Don't worry, it'll trickle down. Anyways, I got laid off, struggled for a year. Bad.
A lot of people did in that time.
Oh, yeah, when you realize...
That would have been, what, early 80s?
Yeah. You got to realize... when Bethlehem did that, you're not only talking about the 40,000 people that work there.
Well, they had plants all along Lake Erie.
Yeah, but I'm saying here in Buffalo, I believe it was 20,000 workers that worked for the plant and 20,000 workers that worked for subcontractors for the plant.
Right.
In other words, trucking companies, maintenance companies.
Yeah.
But, now all of a sudden you got all of us looking for a job.
Here's my world where there's no pain nor thought or hurtful feelings. I know for sure that all of my love will drown your thirsty body. We'll wish that don't too many loved ones, so come on, let's go on. I'm going down, down, down to my ghost town. To my ghost town.
So do a little rewind. Something I was listening to about Prohibition, and of course, growing up, we were always told about the mob in Buffalo, but you stop and think, and being from around here, knowing Buffalo's not a real big city, you wonder why there was so much organized crime in the city of Buffalo. And what I learned from the Prohibition is that was because Buffalo was a good bootlegging town.
Yeah.
So what I would have to think is that your non-English reading Italian grandfather would have had several stories about working for those guys or covering up or being...
No, he quit that.
Yeah, got right out of that.
Here's what happened. It was a job run by the Irish who were here first, and they stole the Italians' money. The Irishman was going back to Ireland, and they didn't call them that then. They just called them the Brotherhood. But the mafioso sent my grandfather to get their money, and he got their money. He fed the man to the sharks.
Huh.
1929, middle of Depression, my grandfather bought his farm. Nobody had any money.
Yep.
My grandfather bought his farm. Cash. My grandfather was a cousin of the Colombo crime family that the Kennedys prosecuted.
So your mother and your uncles would have been born in the teens, somewhere around between 1910 and 1920.
No, after 1929.
Really?
Yeah. Because my grandfather never got together with my grandmother, who's a pharaoh, who their family's big in Brant.
Yep.
He got together with her after, well, that's what I know, but he got together with her after he bought the farm and built the farmhouse.
So he bought the land and then built the farm, essentially.
Built the farmhouse, built the barn,
And it seems I remember a story about your uncles buying your grandfather a tractor because they thought he should.
Right after World War II, all three of my uncles had all this, what do they call it?
Yeah.
Hazard pay, war pay. They bought my grandfather 1949 or 50 or Ford 6N. Showed my grandfather how to use it, and he didn't understand. There was a little ravine. I don't mean big ravine. I mean like 20, 30 foot at the end of the field. We had fields on both sides because it was a ditch for the artesian well. And my grandfather got to the end of the field, pulls on the steering wheel and says, "Ho! Ho! Ho! Ho!" Down into the ditch he goes.
Stupid tractors never listen.
Well, he wouldn't drive it again. He went back to using his horses, so they wouldn't let him on the tractor. Although, and this is cool as hell, not many kids have ever experienced this. I believe it was Labor Day. It might have been some other late summer thing. My grandfather gets my mom to take us and all the kids on the hay wagon. We got hay bales to sit on. And Grandpa says, we're going to kill a deer and eat it tomorrow. So we go back near the artesian well, and we're all sitting there, we're all talking. Grandpa's trying to tell us be quiet and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, he goes, makes a swoop with his arms, touches a horse. And there from the neighbor's field comes 4 deer. 2 babies, a mama, and 2 juveniles. They come down the artesian well. They're not 50 yards away. My grandfather just shoots one. My uncles go out there, got it, and everything else. You got to keep the liver and the heart. And for that Sunday, we had, I forget how he cooked it, but it was basically the whole deer cut
on a spit or on a grate or whatever.
Yeah. But I was a little kid then, and to see something like that was just...
We're all gonna fly. Yeah, we're all gonna fly someday. So party, get live with me. Yeah, party, get live with me.
Now, did he run hounds?
No, my uncle did. My Uncle John.
So your hound addiction came from him?
Yeah, my Uncle John, Herb Ebel, Al Westfall. They're the guys that started the Erie County Coon Club.
Nice. What kind of dogs do they run?
Plot hounds, but they all learned to run walkers.
It's the only way.
Yeah, my Uncle John ran. He loved blue ticks,
Yeah.
But he had to have a walker in the group because blue ticks are too yippy,
Yeah.
And that was his words, and you've hunted with them both. Blue ticks are yippy. Are they treeing or...
You know what a walker's treeing.
Yeah.
Now, back then, did you have to slightly process the hides, or did you freeze them?
No. We stretched them, hung them. Can't remember the word now, but you had to have that.
Flush them?
Yeah. Make sure and.
So did you flush them on a board, or did you use a stretcher, like a muskrat stretcher?
No, we had a board. Yeah. And the board my uncle had, you could put a muskrat hide on it, you could put a coon hide on it. No, he had 2 of them. And there was a stool you could sit on, put the hide on it, scrape it off. And the whole thing was, it's easy to scrape the basic hide. What you got to worry about is the edges. How do you scrape them and not rip them?
Right. And then you had a fur buyer right there local they took them to, or?
No, there used to be a fur buyer in Delavan.
Okay. So you took them a ways then.
Yeah.
Delavan was
They never had, like now, you got places where you can take your fur, and nah, we just took them delving.
Now, when you got into it, you used to sell to a guy in Hamburg, eh?
Boston. Yeah. Floyd Millen. No, Clyde Millen.
Then you, when you moved out this direction, you got back into it. Those dogs were out of Craig Willivan's line, or
Yeah.
he got some out of yours?
No, I had no dog. I met Craig. He liked coon hunting. I love coon hunting. They were all his dogs are.
Arnie Moore's.
Yeah, Arnold Morse. Still bothers me. I gave that blue tick back to Arnold and he killed her. That was Tony's buddy. That was the dog he took up to the falls in Zor.
Yeah.
And she loves swimming so much. I was there. Tony had to grab her because she kept going, jumping off the fall, swimming to the bottom, going up top, doing it again. She was having so much fun. She was breathless. And Craig, God bless his soul, we weren't finding no coon, and we were up off Butcher Road. And that little creek coming out of the reservoir, and it was early in the year, it was like September. She was hot from running around, and she sat her ass down in a pool with just water up to her chin. And just sat there and wouldn't come. I'm hot.
Yep.
Go away. Go back to the truck. I'll come when I'm ready. She was, same dog, used to sleep on top of her doghouse. I had hay in the doghouse. She'd be on top and get covered with snow.
You used to come down Zor, Otto, East Otto area hunting, right? When you were still living Angola.
Yeah, we used to go to
Blaisdell,
the state land in Otto.
Traffic Street or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and it's weird there because one year you're going to have too many people, and if you don't check on it, the next year nobody's there. And the reason there's nobody there is because you had too many people
Right.
last year. But Al and the boys still go up there. Okay, shut it off.
All right. Sure that all of my love will drown your thirsty body to a place that don't hold many loved ones. So come on, let's go on good. I'm going down, down, down to my ghost town, to my ghost town. So bada bada get life away.